See that? It even lights up. I just don't have the batteries for it to light up, but okay, we are back. We are back. I'm gonna pause this. Thank you. So, um, Kent, Katie, Sharf, and Emily joined me last night for Ghostbusters Afterlife. That was my first time back in the theaters in years, and pretty big deal. Got a big tub of popcorn, big soda pop, and it felt good to be back in the theaters. Honestly, I'm gonna give you the spoiler-free review real quick. Uh, Long story short, it is a very family-friendly, oriented film. You can definitely take children there. Um, Definitely go in there anticipating those vibes, especially the first half of the movie. You get to know it's no spoiler, but from the trailers you get to meet Egon's grandkids, and they got to kind of develop that story there and get to know them. Halfway through the movie on, though, is per Ghostbuster tradition, is where it gets serious, and it's awesome. And honestly, it's a wonderful nod to the original Ghostbusters movie, and it's also a beautiful tribute to Harold Ramis, aka Egon. Um, it was just everything done right. Like, you can tell that Bill Murray definitely agreed to come back to this finally, because it was nothing but a tribute to Egon. Um, it was a wonderful, like I said, family-oriented experience, and it was not a reboot. This is by no means rebooting a franchise with like a new era of children Ghostbusters. This was closure. This was, you know, a proper end to an incredible franchise, and a movie saga that is my favorite of all time and means the absolute world to me since I was a kid. So yeah, I 100% recommend seeing it. It gets my stamp of approval, two thumbs up. It's a thumb over there, sorry. I'm gonna let about 15 seconds pass here while I get ready to go over things that do contain spoilers. So if you haven't stopped watching, I'm going to give the spoilers now. Okay, so um, Egon's family, the two kids mainly, they go into their house when his house, excuse me, after he passes away in the movie. The girl is a 12-year-old little like nerdy scientist that just steals the show. She's an incredible actress. Just she literally steals the whole movie. Like, she does a fantastic job. I can't stand Finn Wolfhard, and I'm really glad this movie did not make you try to like buy into him as like some badass figure or anything. He's kind of a little dweeb of a loser of a big brother and doesn't really do anything of relevance. So good job, Even Rittman. Um, Good job directing that. Um, but they stumble upon everyone perceives Egon as this like deadbeat dad that never paid attention to his family. Never talked to his daughter, never met never did anything with the grandkids. Even when Dan Aykroyd gets a call because the girl stumbles upon all the shit and learns that her dad, or excuse me, her grandpa was a Ghostbuster from her teacher, who's Paul Rudd. Um, and she YouTubes it and sees the Ghostbusters ads from old movies. And with that, she calls the number that they list there, and Dan Aykroyd answers, and he even kind of goes over that they had a falling out with Egon the whole time. Like, no one's talked to him in 10 years. He even said he could rot in hell before he knew he was dead, which was like, I was like, shit, like, come on. Um, but she, then kind of expressed, like, I'm his granddaughter. And as the phone gets disconnected, like, Ray can't talk to her anymore. Um, when she stumbles upon underneath Egon's house, Egon's ghost, who's invisible, is like speaking to her like with a light, and it was actually very cute. I'm glad they didn't like try to like have his like like an actual spirit talking to her or anything like that. Um, but kind of like sheds light on how to fix the proton pack, how to do a couple things, and kind of leading towards as he moved out to a farm, and like you just they make it perceived that he's this crazy nut job that went out there, and obviously we knew that wasn't the case. But what it turns out being is not only did he go up to the farm to try to do something, he knew where like Gozer, who's the main villain of just the Ghostbuster franchise, um, her slash his like layer. Remember, like the Gozer worshippers they spoke about in part one. They built this gigantic like thing, praising her, and him, Gozer, whatever it wants to be, and people would sacrifice themselves at this place they built, and like there's a point where these freaking figures are crawling out of hell. The Gozer sacrifices that she feeds on, and it's just, I mean, it actually, per Ghostbuster tradition, takes a pretty crazy turn. Um, but so you find out, like, if you've seen the movies, real quick, oh shit, it's Gozer, this is a serious deal. And then you find out that Egon stole all the equipment and has all the proton packs with the pointers, like, blasting to keep the Gozer and, like, the demonic sacrifices figures at bay. And, like, 5 different proton packs would blast to keep all the things down in hell, and those blasts would cause the earthquakes that no one knew where they were coming from. Paul Rudd's great. He's Paul Rudd. Like, he doesn't try to force himself too much in his character into the movie, but he's just perfect. He's a teacher, crazy scientist, gigantic Ghostbuster fan. Tries hooking up with the mom. He goes to Walmart, sees the little mini Stay Puffs as Zool and the Keymaster and Gatekeeper pop back up, just like part one. And just like part one, they gotta kind of mate to unlock the door to Gozer. And you know, it's cool to see Paul Rudd as the Keymaster, Egon's daughter as the Gatekeeper, and with that, Gozer comes out. And Gozer, they did a phenomenal job. 30 years later with Gozer, like it looked great. They even had like the quotes in there with Gozer. So she's coming and she's walking out of this thing, and Egon's daughter or Egon's granddaughter, excuse me, like knows the big farm has built a trap for Gozer to try to save the world from the end of days. Basically, he built a gigantic trap. So they're trying to get Gozer out there. They almost have her, but Gozer overpowers. It's just the one girl with the proton pack, and the Ghostbusters show up at the end. Um, because she called Dan Aykroyd, and he was then aware and like rounded everyone up to go help and basically save the day. They first of all they look old as shit. I know they are old as shit, but they look old. But it was absolutely incredible to see them and even hear them, just to hear Peter Venkman shit talking Gozer one more time. Um, they're blasting it, trying to cross streams. They're getting overpowered. Uh, the girl on the other side is blasting it, and Egon's ghost comes up, and it's a CGI holographic Harold Ramis, and like I'm not gonna lie, it kind of brought a tear to my eye. It was so beautifully done because it was him, and obviously he's not with us anymore, and just what he means to Ghostbusters, the movies, stories, the franchise. He was one of the main writers. For them to get his holograph perfect and have him show up and you know be a part of it to defeat Gozer, and then there's a scene where he goes over and stands next to the Ghostbusters as they're blasting, and Bill Murray even kind of like looks at him. He's like, and it's just I don't know, it's so good, but it's an incredible uh, closing of the door to the franchise, and it is such a beautiful tribute to Harold Ramis. They save the day, and Winston takes the car back. He doesn't. The car doesn't stay with them. The shit doesn't stay with the kids. Winston basically says, "I'm gonna clean you up and take you where you belong." This was not a reboot. This was a closing of the door, perfect write off in tribute to Harold Ramis. Like everything's back where it needs to be. The Ghostbusters, retire. They finally defeat Gozer, and the car gets back to where it needs to be, and Harold Ramis gets his tribute he deserves. And like I said, you can absolutely tell that Bill Murray, because Bill Murray, as everyone knows, did not want to. He didn't want to do any part threes. He didn't want to do any sequels for almost 2 decades. I'm sorry, for 2 decades, he shot everything down because he didn't want to like tarnish Ghostbusters. He didn't see a meaning, and you didn't know what the meaning was that he came back for this. But when you see the movie, it's apparent he came back to pay homage and tribute to his long lost friend Harold Ramis, and it was beautiful. It was literally everything I wanted it to be. Um, and like I said, it's a family friendly film. Uh, Obviously, you're not watching this if you're going to go see it because I gave you a bunch of spoilers, but um, I loved it. Go see it. Trying to put the music back on. Sorry. And my controller. Yep, yeah, my controller died. Whoops. Anyways, Ghostbusters. Woo.